Let's talk about porn, because I'm sure that's not going anywhere on the internet. Arizona's Republican Governor Jan Brewer, you know Jan Brewer, she signed a law this week cracking down on revenge porn, classifying it as a sex offense. Of course, revenge porn is when you post photos or videos, usually of an ex of yours, without their consent. There's a bunch of states that have this. Let's get a little info on the law. Arizona's strict new law makes revenge porn a felony, establishing an initial 18 months in prison or 2.5 years in prison if the person in the image can easily be identified. It will apply to any photograph, videotape, film, or digital recording of a person, and it makes it a crime to disclose, display, distribute, publish, advertise, or offer these photos or videos. This seems all good to me. I usually don't agree with Jan Brewer, but this seems pretty good. Is there anything wrong with this kind of law? And did we really just need this because of...
That was my question. Like, why do we have to say that you're not allowed to post revealing photos of your ex on the internet? Like, that should be obvious that you can't do that.
Are you saying people sometimes have a bad nature?
Yeah, I think so.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that this even had to be said. Like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Don't rape people. Don't murder people. Don't post pictures of people on the internet for everyone to see and invade their privacy. Like, that's common sense.
Wasn't the original 11th commandment, thou shalt not post pictures, nudies of other people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all good here? All good?
Oh, completely. I mean, obviously, this needs to be legislated because people will argue that this is a violation of free speech and that they should have the right to be able to say this, and if there's something in their possession, especially, you know, it gets complicated when somebody takes a selfie. And the interesting thing is that some of these revenge porn laws actually don't apply to self-recorded. In Arizona they do, but in other states some of them don't apply to like self-recorded images, which I think is a nuance that shouldn't be written into the law. But that's where I think the legality gets confusing, because if I took a picture of myself naked and gave it to you and said this is now your property,
but she does that all the time.
Then yeah, I do it. It's our relationship.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Don't judge us.
No,
okay?
that's cool. That's cool. You know, we're cool around here.
Yeah. So if I did that, you should, you know, you might be able to argue that it's now your property and you can do whatever you want with it.
Good to know.
Unfortunately, there's no waiver signed. There's no release there. If there were a waiver signed, this revenge porn law would not apply, right?
That's actually not a terrible idea. Like, have an app where you're going to send all your nudes and you have to actually click something to say, all right, you can do that in
production all the time. If I film you on the street doing an interview and you don't want your face on camera, you can choose not to sign the release, and then you have to blur your face out. So the fact that these are, you know, private experiences that people will ultimately, I think that's kind of the interesting thing about this law. It's sort of like the separation between a typical violent crime and a hate crime, because it's motivated by something that's really specific and really dark and kind of violent and vengeful. And because of that direct motivation, I think the penalty should be stronger, because the actual act is honestly, like, what is your protection of that act? Like, what can you argue in a courtroom that says, oh yeah, I did this in good faith and it was, you know, it was a positive experience.
I sent that picture to all my friends in good faith.
Yeah.
I just wanted to promote the nudeness of this other person.
Yeah, it was great.
Is part of the problem here that we got all this technology so fast? You know what I mean? Like, the internet is really, for our purposes, it's like 20 years old. You know what I mean? It's not that long ago that it was all dial-up. And we got all of this stuff, webcams and phone cameras and Snapchat. We got it all so fast that everybody started doing all of this crazy stuff. And now it's like we need these laws to control us, because otherwise it's just endless, right?
Yeah, people are not the brightest. They'll just do whatever they can with what they have. I mean, it's not the technology's fault, though. I mean, we have a bunch of things at our disposal. It's your choice to be a jerk with it. So no, it's not the technology's fault, but definitely people are going a little bit crazy, and we have to make laws like this.
We're short-sighted as a society. That's part of the problem, is that people make decisions that seem good in the moment, and they don't think about the ramifications down the line. And it's also difficult because there's no legislation in place protecting minors per se.
That was my next question.
And so we argue in this country all the time about the legal drinking age, the legal driving age. Like, at what point are you responsible enough to operate heavy machinery or, you know, take a substance that's psychotropic? And so at what point are you responsible enough to have a camera and the ability to upload any picture that you take onto the internet, it's difficult. When you're a young person, it's even harder to think about the downstream ramifications, and there are biological reasons for that. That part of your brain isn't well developed. So, and we're also not socialized to have that kind of responsibility at that age. So that's where things get difficult, and that's why I think it is so important to have legislation like this.
Yeah, I am totally on board. We were all in agreement there.